to say before we going?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to share that this visit is Donald Trump's second visit to China. The first visit Donald Trump took to People's Republic of China was in 2017. So about that would be in his first term. So about 9 years or almost 10 years since any U.S. president visited China. We know, obviously, from Biden's term of office that the relationship between China and the United States has been very cold. Reason why Biden did not at any point make a visit to China, as well as Xi Jinping, who is Chinese president, did not hasn't visited China in the past 9 years. What I would say about Trump is that he is one who engages, and it doesn't really matter the level of disagreement or the level of chaos that he is dealing with. He is one who likes to talk. And if we do remember very well, Donald Trump met North Korean leader Kim Jong un three times during his presidency, 2017 to 2021. Most notably becoming the first U.S. president to step into North Korea on June 30th, 2019 at the DMZ. So to me, these are very important steps, right? Because I don't like you, because are different, because our policies are different, because our vision of the world is different, does not mean that we cannot engage. That was the policy of Joe Biden. Thank God Joe Biden is gone. I think that is the first point I wanted to make. The second notable visit that Donald Trump has made since during his term was his visit with President Putin, August 15, 2025, where U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin met at a joint base, Ellen Elmedov Richardson in Alaska, to discuss all the ongoing situation in Ukraine. Yes, you would agree with me that nothing really substantial came out from all these visits, but better talking than fighting. I'm sure everyone would agree that we better be talking about our disagreements as opposed to fighting about our disagreements. And I think that's the difference between Donald Trump and most of the leaders that we have in power nowadays. Take France, Emmanuel Macron. Emmanuel Macron has not visited Vladimir Putin, hasn't had a one-on-one with Vladimir Putin since the Ukraine war. That is crazy. There's been two prime ministers, if not three prime ministers, no, two, since the Russian-Ukraine war. None of them has visited or met with Vladimir Putin. That is crazy. The European Union, which is an organization that runs Europe, for lack of a better way of putting it, their leaders have refused to meet with anyone that they disagree with. They disagree with Putin, they will not meet with Putin. It's only recently, after Donald Trump came into power, after the Alaska meeting, that European leaders said, okay, well, we can maybe try and find a way to open connections between Europe and the Kremlin. That doesn't make any sense, right? So, in as much as I don't agree with a lot of the things that Trump is doing these days, and if you're following this show, you see very clearly my disagreement. But I will appreciate Trump for putting aside the differences and going out and meeting people and talking about how they could make the world better. Even if at the end of the day he hasn't stopped the Ukraine war, even if at the end of the day he hasn't ended his war against Iran, but at least there's something going on. They are talking, they are negotiating, which is exactly what Trump has gone to do in China. He's gone to China so that they could have a conversation about their differences. And maybe at the end of the day, they might not find ways of making that relationship better, but at least they have talked about it. Everybody knows everybody's position. China's position is clear on the American standpoint. The American position is clear on the Chinese. So people know exactly where they stand. And I think that is important, right? So I would applaud Trump for taking the time and going out to meet with Xi Jinping. And again, shame to Emmanuel Macron, shame to the European leaders, shame to anyone in Europe who has decided to not engage, uh, 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 um, who has decided to not engage with Russia or decided to not engage with Iran. I say shame onto them. And kudos to Trump for keeping aside his pride. Trump is a very proud individual, and going out to visit China at this time where he is not exactly winning, it takes a lot for Trump to do this. So it kind of shows the value that Trump places in the relationship between the US and China. These are the two biggest economies. These are, in my opinion, uh, 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 the two big powers that kind of shape and direct the world. In my opinion, we have the American empire that, in my opinion, is dying, and the Chinese empire that is growing to replace. Uh, to me, it makes sense for these two people to talk. How can we, as the two biggest powers in the world, coexist, maybe work together to solve some of the problems that we have in this world? I think that is a good step. People, you could say whatever I want to say about Trump, and I have a lot that I'm going to say about Trump on this show, but I would applaud him for going out to China. I mean, he didn't have to go. The war in Iran isn't going well at all. Some leader would say, I'm not going, I wouldn't go until I can deal with whatever it is happening with Iran. Because again, like in my opinion, Trump goes to China with a weak hand. He goes to China with a weak hand, and this was not his intention. Yeah, that would be my opening comments. We can expatiate and elaborate and disagree, because I know a lot to disagree about today.
I don't know that there's much disagreement there. Well. That's very kind of you. As someone who has been on the other side of the fence, very interesting take, and I really find nothing to disagree with you there. Maybe a few tweakings here and there, but
Mhm.
uh, I'll say that's a very generous interpretation of the stake of this bilateral meeting. And anybody who is has been following world events, it's like that two world powers are meeting. Um, just to add to what you said, I mean, you said many things that the only thing I would disagree with is the pride that you said. Trump is egoistic and very prideful. I mean, a very prideful person would not be meeting with Kim Jong Un. A very prideful person would not be meeting with Russia president and Ukraine president. A very prideful person will not have sent his delegation, multiple delegations to Europe to tell them to improve on their NATO spending. There's this perception that Trump is very prideful and doesn't want to engage. But in my opinion, he's one of the most, and maybe you agree with me, one of the most um, presidents who have engaged opposing parties. I mean, you said, well, that the only person who has gone to North Korea, remember the threat North Korea used to make to the United States, or when Obama was there. In fact, Obama told Trump that North Korea was his main problem. What did Trump do? Trump went to North Korea. Okay, people were talking about China. We talked a lot about China. Um, Trump has, this is his second trip to China. He has said multiple times that he does respect President Xi and they
Mhm.
get well. He has said multiple times that he does respect President Putin and they get
Mhm.
along. So all this to say, I don't see any pride there. He is a very, how would I say, a very flamboyant person, a very outgoing, outspoken. You know what it means. He says what it means and means what he say. It doesn't come out as scripted, as polished politicians. No, it comes out the way he wants it to be. Trump will never be as classic as Obama, but he
Mhm.
is raw, he is direct, he will tweet 20, 10 times a day. He is saying what is on his mind. If he hates you, he hates you. If he likes you, he likes you. Okay, so I'll hardly associate all those traits to someone who's very prideful, someone who's very verbose, someone who's flamboyant, someone who speaks his mind. Sure, but pride, I don't know. And I don't think pride is much of Trump's forte. So that's one of the little disagreements that me and you have there. And then another part, just to reiterate some points that you made, I think
Hmm.
he respect people who are respectable. He has said it multiple times. I just talked about Putin, talked about President Xi, talked about other people that who are leading their countries in various ways, and they don't agree on many things, but he respects that these people wield a lot of power over the people that they rule. So you cannot rule in isolation. You have to talk with the people of the opposite side, which is something that a lot of politicians have to learn. You cannot just be in your own bubble and think you own all the truth and everything. See, most people think Trump is that way, but if you look carefully, I don't think Trump is that way at all. He realizes the power these other people pose, and he thinks together they can make things happen for their various people, even when they disagree. So that's one thing I'll say for Trump. He does respect people that he disagreed with, people that have significant power on the other side. And then one last thing, just to wrap up and highlight a few things you said there. Trump has no permanent friends and no permanent enemies. If you mess with Trump today, he's gonna come after you. But if you adjust yourself, you're gonna be his best buddy. I mean, you don't have to go very far. Um, there are people who have disagreed with Trump vehemently. He has gone after them. Look, people who were his friends, and then they come and they start to make it personal. He has gone strongly after them. I mean, look at Major Taylor Greene. She was a very strong Trump advocate. You
Hmm.
know, helped a lot in bringing him to the White House. But what did she do? Well, according to Trump, she betrayed him. She wanted him to bend to her demands. And you don't need to just go online and see how he's treating her. Okay, there are people who have look at Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida. People forget how contestful and how harsh words were thrown when they were campaigning for to become the leader of the Republican Party to run for president. If you can remember, just a few years back, Ron DeSantis and Trump were at each other's throat because they were trying to get the ticket. But they are friends now. They hang out, talk, and there's even talk that they're going to appoint DeSantis because he's almost done his governorship in Florida. They're going to appoint him to a post in Trump administration. So really, if you've been following Trump for the last 10 years, you know that he has no permanent friends. He has no permanent. I mean, just look at the guy who was the president of Syria, was had a bounty from the U.S. government. He's been to the White House. Trump has spoken favorably about him because they tend to agree right now. So those are a few things that I wanted to highlight. Maybe disagree on the pride point, but he
Right.
does this are respectable. He has no permanent friends and he has no permanent enemies. So all that to say, I'm pleasantly surprised about your insight. It's I mean we've been going at each other for the last couple of months, and you in the last few year and I've had your reservations about Trump. But
Hmm.
that was nice to hear. That was nice to hear. Um,
Yeah, sometimes truth cannot be. You can't hide the truth. It's obvious. It's obvious.
just
Kind
takes
of
you a while. It takes you
who
a while to come to the truth.
who Donald Trump is.
Exactly.
I, before we continue, Ghana, did you get a chance to take a look at members of the delegation? And I'm not talking about members of his administration. I'm talking about
Yeah. Yeah.
members of the business class who kind of travel with Trump, because I believe that the people Trump travels with kind of tells you the
Right.
vision that he has for that mission. Before I kind of get into telling you what I found, were you able to take a
I
look and see
I skimmed,
who's going?
yeah, I skimmed through the ones that jumped out at me, and I wasn't any surprise. The Tim Cook of Apple. There were other, you know, um, technology CEOs, businessmen, but there are a lot of CEOs of major American companies
Mhm,
that were on Air Force One on the way to Beijing. So
mhm,
it tells me that these people are ready to make deals.
mhm,
They have an American agenda that they want to go and enforce. They want to open American markets to the Chinese, to Chinese goods and services, and they're going so, and they're going to be making demands on the Chinese as well that they have to open the market. So a lot of high-level technology CEOs. That's what I think. Those were the majority of the group of the CEOs who went over there to China. I didn't go into details to find out who these people were, but
Uh,
um, the administration. I don't know if you did.
yeah, I would add a few. So what I kind of realized from the list, again, just to add to what you said, CEOs of electric cars, so Tesla, Elon Musk, and
Mhm.
of course AI and technology companies, CEOs of investments and banking, aviation, aeronautics, and meat processing agro industry. So Elon Musk of Tesla, Tim Cooks of Apple, who are of course the electric cars, and of course technology. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang, who again, America has this embargoes on chips to China. Again, it wasn't Trump's. It was this embargo was placed when Biden was president.
Right.
When Trump came in, he kind of lifted the sanctions to a certain degree. But at this point, the Chinese government had directed the Chinese industries to not buy from Nvidia, but
Right.
instead to buy local, right? So I think he is on that trip so that they can kind of help address whatever differences they have and kind of open the Chinese market, or open themselves to the Chinese market. Hopefully, something comes out of there. And then investment companies, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, I mean, he's always there. These are people who manage trillions of dollars in investment. Blackstone Inc. CEO as well, Citigroup, so banking, Goldman Sachs, Boeing CEO Kelly Odberg, again, aeronautics. And then another and not really important one is Cargill CEO. You know Cargill?
No,
I
not
think
really.
do they, unless I'm mistaken, I think they do agro and meat processing.
President, yeah, and yeah,
Yeah. So again, um, America is, of course, a big producer of beef.
yeah.
Again, during Biden's term, uh, with the tension that America and China had, China is doing a lot of its sourcing for agricultural products from Brazil and the other Latin American countries, and less from the United States. So I get the feeling that this too is a sticking point for Trump. Again, they want to open the American agro industry to Chinese to the Chinese markets, right? So we have that, and then Meta platform president and another technology. So it kind of breaks it down. It tells you clearly what Donald Trump hopes to achieve on this trip. And for me, it's not members of his administration that he's traveling with that is important. It is the people who are outside his administration
Right.
that tells you what that mission is all about. And I think this mission is all about business. How can we open ourselves to each other? How can we make things work between us? I'm sure we're going to talk about some of the embargoes and restrictions, because there are a couple of items that I kind of wanted to mention. But I thought it made sense to kind of look at the delegation that Donald Trump traveled with
Um,
to China.
right. And I mean, members of the administration are obviously going to travel
Of course.
to have the Secretary of State, the Secretary of War. So there's going to be bilateral government relationship and discussions with government military. I think they're going to talk about military power and how they can exchange ideas and stuff like that. So yeah, like you said earlier, for me, this is two world powers that are saying, you know what, we can work together. I mean, we have different philosophies, we have different places that we want to take our people to, but we can work together. We're going to disagree vehemently on many things, but let's focus on the things that we agree on and try to maximize um, 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 resources so that we can be a win-win situation. So, if nothing comes out of this, which is very unlikely, it is still it shapes the relationship between two world powers in it turns it in a different way. Like we disagree, and we can put those aside and focus on the things that we agree. I think that's a new direction that people can learn from. Um, Not just highlighting where we disagree on other stuff. I was going to ask, what did you think of the reception? I mean, it wasn't anything glamorous. Not that these things matter in the grand scheme of things for me, but a lot of people are comparing Obama's reception in China to Trump's reception in China. I'm not sure what time he landed in China, but I think that was late. It was already dark. But I mean, the Chinese are known for their spectacular displays and discipline. But that was some welcome. A lot of people are pointing out that President Xi was not there to receive Trump, that it was a calculated move. Yeah, I mean, if you want to read a lot into these things, I try not to read a lot into these things because I try to focus on the substance of the agreement. But maybe there are statements being made here, but for me, those are sidelines and not really the crux of what is at stake here.
I mean, I agree. It seemed like a very, what I say, low key in terms of who was present to receive him. Again, China always puts they always put on a show, right? They always put on a show. It's beautiful. They have kids, waving the American flags and doing their welcome. They're properly well dressed. It's kind of a really choreographed like thing, something that they've taken time to practice.
Yeah,
I think where the issue is not the reception in that sense, but the reception as in which of the Chinese dignitaries was there present at the airport to receive Donald Trump. It was Vice President.
yeah,
And the criticism is that why wasn't President Xi present at the airport to receive Donald Trump? And again, that might be a good question to ask.
yeah,
Why send your vice president to receive someone who is not their equal, right? If Vance was coming, then I think in terms of parity, it makes sense for the vice president to welcome him. But if the president is coming on a trip like this, you would hope that the Chinese president would take time
yeah.
to.
Actually, the President Xi knew that this is going to make waves. That you're not there to receive the president, arguably the most important person in the world.
Mhm,
Um, I mean, we can make other speculations. Some people focus on that point, which is he has some significance there, but
mhm.
I think the more important things to focus on and talk about than who received the president at the airport. I mean, you would show some level of respect if President Xi was there himself, but
Mhm.
he wasn't there. So okay, yeah,
So I mean, if you for those who really don't like Trump, they would say, of course, they would make this a really big deal. To me, it's something, but
yeah.
it's not
It's not
as
that
big of a deal. It's not as big as a deal. It's not that significant. He was received by the vice president,
even
and so
he did Obama. So
and so what, right? So um,
yeah.
yeah, that's what I think about that.
We've talked about deals. Another thing on people's mind is the Iran situation, and a lot of journalists, a lot of experts on this field are talking about how this is a strategic move to kind of like help China, who has also been one of the main um, um, markets for Iranian oil, and also who is affected by the strait being closed. So a lot of people are saying Trump has an agenda in terms of Iran. He wants to pressure China into making a statement and taking a side so that they together, United States and China, can pressure Iran to be able to open the strait so that ships can go through. Just recently, a Chinese ship was a vessel was shot at. So um, I'm sure his administration is going to make the case that it is in China's best interest for the strait to be open because a lot of Chinese goods has to get to the rest of the world. And should the strait be closed, not just Iran suffers, China suffers as well because they are losing on their markets. and the price is good. So I think that's the case that the administration is going to be making with regards to Iran. What are your thoughts?
I mean, if you know China, you know China is not in the business of pressuring other countries.
Right.
China has a very contrary idea in terms of intervention. I'm not saying China does not influence, but China does not intervene overtly in that way. And if you know China, you will know that they will not overtly influence or intervene in a sovereign state so openly as the Americans would do. A
Yep.
good example is how China dealt with the Russia Ukraine war. He had a lot of China had a lot of leverage over Russia.
Hmm.
Russia is still here and doing what it's doing thanks to the support that China is providing by continuing to buy Russian petrochemicals and oil and buy products, continuing to buy food and fertilizers from Russia. That is what China does. By the way, China needs these things, right? So it's impossible for China to say that no, we are not. We are going to side with Ukraine or we are going to side with Russia so overtly. China was also doing business with Ukraine
Yep.
to a certain extent, right? So China has its own interest. And if China's interest is to buy, China is going to buy oil from whoever they want. And they've made this very clear. China does
Right.
not only buy from Russia, they buy from Iran, they buy from Saudi Arabia, they buy from the Gulf states, right? So how do you expect China to pick a side and say, okay, now I'm going to pressure Iran into agreeing to terms of an agreement that are not favorable to Iran? China does not play that game. I'm sure you would agree. China does not play that game. Yes, China might have some sort of leverage, and yes, China might really be in need of oil, not dire needs. China has a very large reserve of oil and gas that they can use for the next couple of months. So China is in no rush to have this business closed, right? But however, they still, rather than depleting their stockpiles, I believe they would want to continue to import. So yes, China has an interest in this war ending so that business can continue as usual. But again, what role is China going to play to ensure that this war ends? China is just going to be a mediator. I think China can play a mediator role without picking a side, without picking America or going against Russia. They are just going to say, hey, you two need to come together and have a conversation. If there's something that we can do to facilitate this conversation, to facilitate this mediation, we will. Not people, analysts have said that Pakistan is in the position of mediator because because China kind of instigated and brought Pakistan in, as opposed to China doing the work. They would have Pakistan play the mediator role because Pakistan is friends to both Iran and the United States, so they can be trusted, right? So they pick the best person to do the job and they provide support in the background. Um, Another thing too, which I would like to kind of mention, is that though the Strait of Hormuz is, you would say, close or control, Chinese ships are still going through. I read somewhere, I forgot to bookmark that page, that about 10 Chinese tankers went through the Strait of Hormuz today,
Mhm.
right? Which means, you know, China, which means Iran is still letting these tankers go through, which means, um, oil is still kind of getting out and flowing to China, not to the extent that it did 3-4 months ago, but it's still trickling out, right? Um, the analysts too have also said that Donald Trump is in a position of weakness
Mhm.
in this visit because they failed they failed to exert control over Iran. For example, if the Iranian government had collapsed on the first couple of days, And if they had put in place a government that was favorable to the United States, then the United States goes to China and say, "Hey, we have Venezuela, where they have total control of Venezuelan oil. It's not going to China. Venezuela oil goes directly to the United States. So China has lost that supplier. Imagine that Iran too, which is a big supplier of Chinese oil. Imagine that they had a government that was favorable to the United States, and that the United States could say, okay, we China, Iran, and us are not going to be selling any more oil to China, and that this oil will be diverted to the United States and maybe diverted to other countries, right? Then China would be in some sort of a desperate position where they've lost their supplier Venezuela, they've lost Iran as a supplier, which means a significant portion of their import is gone. Now they are forced to negotiate with whoever has control of that oil. Now it's the United States. Unfortunately, that did not go as planned. And if you notice, this trip was scheduled to happen
So
in
earlier,
earlier in April. And in my opinion, they were going to attack end of February, take a week, a couple of days, have their regime change,
and
set up a
immediately,
new government, and then Trump goes to China with all the cards in his hands and say, "Hey, man, we have control of the Strait of Hormuz, we have control of Iranian oil, we have control of Venezuelan oil. Hey, what do you want to do?" Right? We can starve you, we can choke you. If they wanted to do even more, they could say, "Well, we can put a blockade on the Strait of Malacca," right? And then China would be stranded. They would have no supplies, they would have no routes, and Russia will not be able to provide as much oil as China needs. In my opinion, that was the game plan. So they moved the date a few weeks down the road, hoping that by now they would have dealt with Iran and then go to China with all the cards in their hands. Unfortunately, that did not go as planned. So Donald Trump goes to China.
in a
Um,
position,
sorry,
in a weakened position.
he goes to China in a very weakened position, and that is my opinion. Another thing too, maybe I'll let you comment before I add something else. I wanted to add another point, but I'll let you.
I don't know. We don't know the ins and outs of all the military planning and the strategy of the U.S. and Israel in
No, so
that.
I think because we are not part of the American government, we're not part of we do,
Yeah,
but we talk about the things that we see. Because
yeah,
at the end of the day, what you see tells you exactly what is happening. You don't need to be part of the planning. You don't need to have the briefings that Donald Trump has. But if you see the way he operates and you see the way things, why did they postpone the visit in the first place? I think that's a good question to ask. Why?
yeah. Well,
Because the war was not going as planned.
no, not necessarily because he thought it was a time his country is in the middle of a war and they needed his presence to be
They
able
are
to.
still in the middle of the war. Why is he going?
But the world is in a different phase, so
Exactly the point I'm trying to make. At that time, at least now he can say, "Well, we are not exchanging fires. We have a ceasefire that is fragile, but it's still there, and we are negotiating." Compare this phase of the war to the phase of the war April what was it April 2nd.
uh,
It's not the same thing,
it's not the same. So, well,
right?
all this is speculations. We don't really know. But
Of course,
yeah,
we
it may very well be that it was they were hopeful that when he went to China, there would be a different strategy. But it is what it is.
exactly.
Um, they're going to talk and whatever. China is going to make its position clear, as would the U.S. Excuse me. Yeah, no, yeah, that's it. You're going to bring something up.
I was going to talk about China's leverage,
Yeah.
because China at this point seems to have the upper hand in whatever negotiations that is going to happen. Like I
Hmm.
kind of explained earlier, the Iran strategy is completely failed. That is not something that Trump is able to use. Venezuela is not big enough. It's not big enough leverage for China. in terms of supply, oil supply. Venezuela supplied, I don't know, 7% of oil to China. So it's not big enough to be a leverage in that sense, right? Another thing which I wanted to kind of bring up was um, also the fact that with everything that's going on in the Gulf, the United States has moved assets from Japan, South Korea, down to the Gulf because they are dealing with Iran. What does that leaves South Korea, Japan, and those parts of Pacific Asia? It leaves them vulnerable and open, right? Taiwan, take the Taiwan situation. Do you think if China were to attack Taiwan today, do you think the United States will be able to defend Taiwan? As appropriately as they would 5 months ago. Do you think that will happen? So the United States is in a position where um, they don't have, just like Donald Trump told Zelensky, they don't have the cards. They don't have the cards in Taiwan. They don't have the cards in Japan and South Korea because they moved assets down to the Gulf. They don't have the cards in Iran because Iran is spinning them down there and nothing seems to be happening. So in terms of leverage, what leverage does America have in this negotiation? Again, that would be the question that I would ask you.
Yeah. Well, they still remain. I know you think they're a dying empire. They still remain the number one economy in the world. World trade is still happening in the American dollar. The America is still technologically, in many ways, advanced military-wise. In many ways, more advanced than China. I mean, China is a respectable country military-wise, but I think the United States has an edge. So, um, I think that
They
is what
have an edge militarily,
I
and
think.
and Iran is stuck in their throat.
Because Iran is a tricky situation.
It's not tricky. Iran is a third. Iran is a third tier military power, maybe even fourth tier military power,
Well,
and the United States is stuck with Iran.
I don't know.
So how do you compare the military capacity of Iran and that of China? You mean the United States cannot deal with Iran, and it's almost 2 months, 3 months, 2 months plus?
Well, I mean, the fight now is really the straight. That's really what the fight is all about now. So, it's not dealing in the sense that you go and bomb everybody. No, it's dealing in a strategic sense where you target people who are supposed to be targeted. You focus on key infrastructure. So, in many ways, it's more complicated than you're trying to put it. Um, Letting access to the Strait of Hormuz is also a complicated issue. It became more important and significant as the war went on. So
And I mean, considering that before the 28th of February, I'm
there
sure
was
very few people knew anything about it. I knew about the Strait of Hormuz, but it meant nothing in the bigger
many.
scheme of big scheme of things, right? So now the Strait of Hormuz now is everything. Something that was almost insignificant a couple of months ago.
Months
America
ago.
made the Strait of Hormuz what it is today. That is America's fault.
No, it's also Iran's fault. I know you don't want to blame Iran, but it's also Iran's fault because they are trying to choke the world. They are trying to choke China too. They are using it as a leverage, not just on America, but on the world. I mean, Canada has nothing to do with this, but you can tell me what the price of gas is in Canada. Africa has nothing to do with it. You can tell me the cost of gas in Africa. These are just their sole purpose is to go down and bring everybody with them. And I mean, as a simple question: who wants it closed? Who wants it open? I think that's an eye opener question.
Iran
Um,
wants it open.
are you sure?
Iran wants it open, yes.
I don't think
All,
that's
all,
so.
all, all, all we need to do to have the Strait open is America to move their vessels out of the Gulf. And then the
Uh,
Strait of Hormuz becomes open. Well, you would have to pay a toll to go
uh-huh.
through it. Yes. But yeah, it will be open for business.
Mm,
America needs to move. That's it.
yeah.
So I
Well,
ask you the question, who wants the Strait open?
America wants the straight open. You're asking me, but who is trying to guide versus true? Is it America or Iran? Who is stopping vessels from going through? I think it'd be dishonest to say Iran is actually the ones not stopping vessels to go through. So who is really blocking the Strait of Hormuz? I think in your initial part of this response, you did conclude that Iran is the one that's holding the war hostage. So they are the ones who are responsible for keeping the gas prices as high as it is. Yeah, it's a trickle effect from the war, but gas prices are only high because vessels carrying oil are not able to cross the strait to deliver gas to where people need it. So, reason why Canada, who's not involved, is trying to say always playing defense, still has to pay the gas prices. So, um, it is what it is. Um, but yeah, so Americans I've kind of forgot what the question is,
We're
but
talking about leverage, American leverage, and we're talking about
uh,
business.
yeah, I mean, America has still has military interest in the world dominance. I mean, the hundreds of American troops have died for many causes around the world, and I know you consider that as interventionist, and there are advantages and disadvantages. You're going to lose infrastructure, you're going to lose ammunition, you're going to lose soldiers. China is not so much overt in its terms of intervention principles. They are sort of in the background. They are gradually creeping on you without even you realizing. It's kind of the story of when you start heating up water and there's a frog in it. The frog, instead of getting is uh, summoning its energy to be able to jump out, is trying to match the temperature. You know, it's different. China has a different strategy. They have disadvantages about their own, but I won't for a second not saying that China is also interested in becoming dominant in the world. They are also having serious influences around the world in a different way, in not overt ways, but a lot of control. I mean, you don't need to go far; just go to Africa and see how many Chinese
I,
soldiers
I,
there.
I think we've talked about soft power before, and that is something that the United States was really very, very focused on. Strong power. We would provide aid, we would support you, we would provide training, we would provide this, we'll give you that, we'll give you that. That
Right.
era has passed. Now all America does is we have the military might. We are just going to throw soldiers on the problem and have that problem solved. So
Mhm.
they moved away from soft power to more hard power and more with Donald Trump. Things that they could really negotiate and have conversations and
Mhm.
find ways of making sure it's a win-win. Now it's us or nobody.
Mhm.
And how do they do that? They use the US military.
Mhm.
You go into Venezuela and kidnap a sitting president?
Yeah.
Why? Why? after after the president Maduro had given America everything.
Clearly, he didn't give everything.
He gave everything.
I mean, what do you mean by give everything?
Everything.
We
He was willing to resume. He was willing to resume. I mean, what did you want him to do? Give away his country? Is that what you do, to say you've
what
given everything, hand
this,
everything over to some foreign power to come and control? No, he was willing to make a deal. He was willing to do business with the United States, right? But what did Donald Trump do? Send your military to go pull him out.
right?
Iran had a
Okay,
nuclear
let's
arrangement
stay on Venezuela
before
for
Trump.
let's stay on
But
Venezuela for a little bit. What
yes,
has happened to Venezuela since Maduro's capture?
what has happened?
They are open to businesses. The oil companies are functioning according to the rules and regulations set by the
What
United
rules? What rules? What rules and what
States.
regulations? It's the same companies. It's not like the companies have changed. It's the same American companies who are there now, who were there when Maduro was president. So what you're talking as if they brought some new companies, just showed up from thin air and started doing business? No, it's the
You just
same
talked about
companies.
China's influence in Venezuela and how that has been curbed by Trump taking out Maduro. Now, U.S. has more say in Venezuela than China does.
Should they
So,
have more? Should a state be telling another state who to do business with? And that is what America is missing, and
mhm,
that is where China wins. China might uh, 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 um find ways
mhm,
to to take your business and
mhm,
prevent others from doing business with you, because they are willing to take the business that you're offering. But America does not do that. America comes in and says, we own the oil in Venezuela. How come? How is America entitled to the oil that comes out of Venezuela? How?
Mhm.
I think that's the question that people need to answer. It's not the same companies who are doing business in Venezuela today, who are running the rigs and drilling, are the same companies who were running the rigs and drilling business when Maduro was president. Now, America has created an account in the American Treasury, like they did in Iraq, like they are doing in Syria, where every transaction that these states do, Iraq, Venezuela, the money comes to the United States, and then these governments have to beg for their own money. They have to write up. Go out and read. I mean, the Iraqi government has to come to America to beg for their money,
Yeah.
money that they got from selling petroleum. So it doesn't make any sense. And
Well,
this is where America begins to fall. When you begin to overexploit the advantages that you have, just like the British, they will take everything and leave you with nothing. Eventually, that would cause your downfall, and that is where America is going to fall. How long do you think before someone comes into power and say we are not going to do this? Is exactly what they did with Iran, where they put in a puppet, they control everything until someone came along and said, "Man, we can't do this anymore."
point. First
But
point.
30 years ago, right? So the point I'm trying to make is this: America has forgotten how to use their soft power.
I'm not forgotten. They have evolved.
Give
You,
me, give me, give me situations, recent times, maybe under Donald Trump or under Biden, where America has successfully used soft power to resolve any issue.
no, I mean, come on. How many foreign aid organization America gives billions in aid in the world? They have been doing that for decades. Okay, so it's not that they have forgotten.
No, I'm
They
talking
have
about resolving serious world issues, not giving aid to some place because you want to go no, I'm talking about using soft power to resolve issues, serious
soft
world
power
issues.
doesn't work anymore. They have been trying to do this soft power thing for decades. What has it got? It has cost the American dollars, the American taxpayers, a lot of money, and supporting countries who do not even share their interests. So at some point, you get tired of this kind of soft power thing that is draining your economy, and you're dealing with people. I mean, what does supporting gay in Lesotho have to do with America? What does
Why
supporting gay?
why why are they supporting gays in Lesotho? That's the
Well,
question you should be asking.
well,
Why?
yeah, all
Why
those
are
things.
they supporting gay rights in Lesotho, for
Well,
example?
that's the point. But I'm just saying, I know why are they supporting? Because people have their own interests of
That's
trying
not
to.
soft power.
That
That's when I talk about it's soft
power.
power. What you're
So
supporting? You're
people kind
supporting.
of
You're supporting gay rights in a region that does not accept gay rights. So
yes,
you
it's
come to
not soft
Cameroon and
power.
support. It's not soft power. You
What is
just
that?
create nations for yourself.
That's
It's not
soft power.
soft power.
That's part of soft power. Soft power. I don't know. Maybe we should define soft power. Soft power, according to me, it's like funding this program, trying to get groups that are
Soft power
decided.
in the sense that Ghana, instead of coming to you and telling you that, hey, this is what you need to do, I come to you and I say, hey, we have this amount of money. What do you think we can do that would benefit your population? Not me coming to you, Lesotho, and telling you that I have money and you should use it to support gay rights. That is
That's a,
not soft. That's
that's
abuse of soft power.
That's
It's
exactly
not.
soft power. No, that
It's
is
not.
exactly soft power. It is. It is exactly soft power that you will come and then at the end of the day, we are sponsoring things that we don't even agree with, that you guys don't agree with. It doesn't even fit with your culture and whatever.
So
Just
why
because
are you doing it?
we're
Why
trying
are
to,
you? China
I'm,
does not do that.
oh,
China does not
China
do that.
doesn't do
And
that.
and that is why China
China
does not
doesn't
go
do that.
supporting gay rights. I've never
No,
heard China
no,
supporting gay rights anywhere
no.
else.
They are sponsoring programs in different things that are of interest to them. They
They
are
are
using their
doing business. China does not give free money like that. China does business. Hey, what are you selling? We will provide you this and this and this, and this is what we get in return. That's soft power.
That's soft power.
That's
That's
soft
soft.
power, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is the U.S. has done this for decades. Let's not make us say this has not the U.S. has not been doing. They've been doing it for decades. But somebody has come along and saying we are not going to be supporting things or supporting countries that are against us. We're going to stop it. If you mess with us, we are going to come in and take you over and deal with you accordingly. Example, Maduro. Okay, he has been.
And that is not imperialist. That is a normal
Well,
standard
for
practice
long, I mean,
that one country can go into the next country and tell them that we
when
control,
you
we
put a
own the
bounty,
oil. I mean, what are we talking about?
when you put a bounty on somebody, do you mean it or not? Biden had a bounty on Maduro. Did he mean it or not? So we should stop playing all these
What?
politics games.
Why would Biden have a bounty on Maduro's head?
Because Maduro was considered a narco terrorist to the United States.
That's propaganda. We all know that. Why would you repeat?
So what was,
I mean, statistically, it show just a tiny fraction
right.
of drugs come from Venezuela to the United States. You forget Mexico. That's where the bulk of the drugs come from. Why are you not dealing with Mexico?
Well, they have also put bounties on the narco terrorists.
They should go in and take. So you find no. See, you're spilling propaganda, and I'm not going to take that.
No,
That
you
is
are not
all
spinning
propaganda.
You are not spinning propaganda. So I'm
No,
spinning
that is all
propaganda. You are
propaganda.
not. You are not. I'm the one spinning propaganda, and you're not. Really, really. Like,
I think calling Maduro a narco terrorist is propaganda. There is no truth in that.
So Biden was promoting propaganda. Obama was.
They were, of course, it's the same thing. Once they have a target on your back,
Mhm.
they will give you any name.
So Iran calling Trump a terrorist organization is promoting propaganda.
It's propaganda as well. I mean, if you look, go if you really want to go deep. But again, it's all talk.
Well, but you can disagree. You can call it propaganda. The point is, if you have a bounty on somebody, you better be ready to enforce it. You cannot.
Anybody can put a bounty on anybody's head, just
It
like you
does.
could put a bounty on Donald Trump's head,
The point.
and give any reason for that. But
Yeah. The point.
my question
Hold on.
is
If you are
that
before
soft
you ask the
power?
question,
Is
before
that
you
soft power?
that's not soft power because you have to mean what you say and mean what you don't and say what you mean. If you put a bounty and you do not have the military power to enforce it, you are just bluffing. I'm sorry. You are no
So
different than someone.
you're supporting the point that America either has forgotten how to use soft power or prefer to use
I'm,
military power because they want
yeah.
to impose themselves and their will on others.
I'm saying if you go through your court system and your government approves that this person has a bounty and we are going to put 50 million, 25 million on this person's head, you better be serious, okay? Don't come and tell us that you're putting a bounty on somebody's head and you're not willing to act on it. Then you are not serious at all. So don't come and play these games. Oh, we have a
What's your
bounty.
I don't get you. I'm not getting your argument. What's the point you're trying to make?
You better be serious if you put a bounty on somebody. It's either the person is a narco terrorist or not. So if you have the means to enforce it, you better enforce it. So if you are like Iran and you put a bounty on Netanyahu and you're just putting it for bluffing, then you are just a joke, okay? Because we're just going to laugh at you. Or you are whatever country. Who's the other one? South Africa. Oh, we're going to arrest Netanyahu if he shows up, and then you don't even have the military power to do that. You are just a bluff, and nobody takes you seriously, okay? If you put a bounty on somebody, you better have the military capability to enact that. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Bounties, words do mean something, and especially you put 15 million, $25 million on somebody you consider a narco terrorist, you better mean what you say and say what you mean. You can't just say somebody's a narco terrorist and that's it. You see the person and you guys just shake hands and dance.
So in effect, you're saying it's justified for the United States to use their military power because they have it and do whatever it is that they want to do wherever it is they want to do it.
I mean, well, I'm hoping that they are using it within the confines of the law. And
Which law? Which law are you talking about?
American law.
American law or international law? Does American law apply in Venezuela? Does it apply in Iran?
Well, but does Venezuela?
Is the American law universal? Are we all bound by the laws in America?
I mean, I'm sorry, if you're Canada and Venezuela is shipping drugs.
No, you talk about laws. Laws are not at the discretion of whoever is using them. Laws are standard practice.
I'm not a big fan of all these international laws. We have all these big. I said it before. All these big organizations.
So the rest of the world should succumb to the United States law. What laws that apply in the United States apply to everyone else?
No.
Is that the point you're trying to make? So
I'm
which
not.
are you talking about?
If you are considered to be shipping drugs to the
If you are
American
considered by who?
America, who else should consider that? America, they are in charge of their population. They are in charge of taking care of their population. So if they deem that you are shipping drugs and you have an organized way of,
That
um,
is
they,
propaganda.
they,
There's
they,
no truth. There's
I
no
mean,
truth in
Russia
all
does
that
that.
talk. There's
That I
no
can
truth
see
in
propaganda
all
too.
that talk. No
Why is
truth.
it not true? I mean, he
There's no
has his
truth.
own thought. There's no truth, really.
Mhm. Yeah, there's no truth in all that.
Okay, that's what
But
you.
I
That's
get
what.
it kind of devolved into we're talking about how China is able to effectively use their soft power by doing business,
Mhm.
by sponsoring, by supporting, and that China has been successfully doing that for years, and they've built a lot of credit with other states. They give loans, they support projects. They are organizing the BRICS now, which is a forum of other states coming together to find ways to do business together to improve on their economy. China is doing all this,
Yeah.
and America is doing nothing. America is doing war. That is all America has done in the past decade.
Okay.
Fight, 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 and nothing else.
Well, China has their strategy. They're doing it. They're doing what is best for them. So they should go
Right.
ahead and do it. America is doing what is best for them. China would not die for any of its allies. Okay, that is not in the Chinese DNA. You won't see them going to support people they consider allies when they're being attacked by
You
the American.
forgot Second World War. You forget the wars that China has fought.
No, we're speaking in recent history. What if China has got? I mean, China could not even go and defend Venezuela.
Why
Okay,
would China go and defend Venezuela? Venezuela is no proxy of China. They were just doing business together.
they were.
They don't have any they do not have any military, they don't have any military cooperation agreement, they don't have any mutual, they were just two independent states who came together because one person needed oil, one person had oil to supply. Why would
Mhm.
China stick its neck out for Venezuela? Again,
Why?
because me and you are friends does not mean that I'll die for you. We don't have that kind of relationship.
Die for anybody. America will die for people it considers ally. China does
Who?
not.
Who? Israel. They will die for Israel. That's it.
The point is they'll die for people they consider allies.
Who?
Some
Israel. Who else?
who else?
I don't see them dying in Ukraine. Do
Well,
you see them dying in Ukraine?
because America technically considers a European war. They don't want to get involved.
I
You
mean, is Ukraine not an ally of the United States?
yeah, but it's not
Would they
something that
die? You know, I mean, you make statements and then you contradict yourself 2 minutes later. You say they will die for their allies. I've told you they will only die. They will only send American children to die for Israel because of what Israel does for America or what America. I'm not even sure what that relationship is. That is the only country. They are not dying for Ukraine. They have bases in the Gulf. They are not
Mhm.
defending the Gulf in any way. They're not dying for the Gulf states, right? So who are they dying for? Who?
Well, I don't know if you're understanding my point. America's interventionist approach is not something that China is going to do. They have a different way. America is more upfront with its allies. You might disagree with the allies, but they are going to provide support for the allies, and you will know where they stand. China, you never know where they stand. They are out for their own interests. Okay, those are two different approach, and I don't know. You call it pacifist.
And America stands for the allies for whose interest? Not for America's interest.
Of course, you're going to stand for people who support your interests. Why
So
would you
what are
stand
you
for someone
talking
who
about?
support your
You're
interests?
it's at the end of the day, it boils down to American interest. If it's something that has to do
As if
only
China
with,
doesn't have its interest. You're
sorry,
talking
what?
as if just some power just waiting there just to be peaceful and whatever. China has huge interest, but the fact that you don't even see that China has interest, I don't
I'm
know
not.
that.
I haven't said that China does not have interest. I'm
Yeah,
saying that the way in which China deals with its interest is very different from the way the United
yeah,
States has chosen to deal
yeah,
with
I
their
agree with that.
interests. Right?
Yeah,
While America prefers to fight wars, China prefers to negotiate. That is the difference. And not,
China,
I mean,
shit,
China negotiates.
really, China negotiates.
I don't see
China,
China fighting any wars. China hasn't fought any wars.
because they are not shooting guns doesn't mean that they are treating everybody fairly. They are also
I didn't.
asking.
I did not say you're mixing words. I did not say just like the United States does not treat everybody fairly. I did not say China treats everybody fairly. That is not what I said. I said they negotiate, and because we negotiate does not mean that I don't have an upper hand in the negotiation. But I'm not sending Chinese troops to come to your country
It's not Chinese way. It's just
and seize your president, and then set up a system where every dime you sell from oil comes to me first,
Mhm.
and then you have to come to me to get the money. China does not do that.
No, China
Fine,
doesn't do it.
but that is the approach that the United States has chosen to go
Oh,
with. That is the difference I'm trying to make.
we
Just like I
yeah,
said earlier, China
yeah.
does not intervene in the manner in which the United States does. So when Trump goes to China hoping that he's going to get President Xi to interfere in the internal runnings of Iran, he is going to come back with his hands empty because China does not do that kind of interference. That
I
is the
think
point I'm trying to make.
I think Trump understands China very well, and he knows how China thinks and how China operates. So I have no doubt that yeah, he's going to think it's a stretch to be able to ask China to send his military. I don't think
I mean,
China is
he
going
can ask China for anything. He's been begging China to join. Not just China. He's been begging the rest of the world to join him in his war with Iran. Nobody showed up. He
to.
begged China to join him. Project Freedom. China did not show up, so he can go out and beg like he's been begging the entire time.
Yeah.
But is
So
China going to react to respond to
right.
American plea? No,
No, probably not. So you are really
not
saying,
probably not. Never, never.
good, I
Yes,
agree. So your point is America should waste its resources, waste its military, its
nobody's.
soldiers and whatever. Nobody's joining them, and then you don't want them to wield war power, really. So if you're able to take that risk, you should be able to take the benefit, of course. And so if nobody's come to the aid of America, they are going to take it and do it by themselves. They have done many things by themselves, and of course, they should be the one to lead that charge and take the reward for doing those things by themselves too. So you can't tell me I'm asking for aid and you don't come, and then what did you tell Britain? You didn't come to our aid when we wanted you. Now you want to come? Stay away. So they should do what, if they have the capability to do it, they will reap, they're going to lose lives, they're going to lose ammunition, but they're also going to reap the benefits because that's what comes with taking risk.
Business. We really should talk about. I think that's the elephant in the room. It's business.
Business, okay.
Business between the United States and China has been
Mm, Rocky.
quite rocky. Again, in your opinion, what do you think might come out of this visit?
I,
Um, again, just kind of wanting to highlight a few things. We have sanctions
mhm,
that America has imposed on China, which again I could list a few sanctions on technology and semiconductors.
yeah.
Um, we have also sanctions on Chinese technology companies.
Mhm,
We have sanctions, restrictive investment in companies like Tencent and Costco Shipping, which are companies that are kind of affiliated to the Chinese military. We have sanctions on companies that are buying Russian and Iranian oil.
mhm.
And the other thing that America also has against China is tariffs. We've talked about tariffs for quite a long time. Um, where do you see these going?
I don't know. I think they're gonna discuss on how to mutually reduce the barriers to trade. The administration is gonna probably making demands on China. You have got to open your markets to us on these products, and we are gonna open our markets to you on these products. We're gonna reduce our tariffs by this. Hopefully, you reduce our tariffs by that. Also noted this Chinese embargoes on many American goods too. So I
Mhm.
think many things that they're gonna try to say, you know what, we can make a deal, both of us together. and mutually reduce certain things that are in the way of us trading in the most efficient and elaborate manner. My worry here is for countries like Canada who were there in China making deals in January. If the US can successfully make a deal with China, huh, that doesn't sound good for Canada. Um, um, who has deals with China? If the US and China can partner together in a way that will benefit them, I don't know where China stands. Where Canada stands. I'm sorry. So, all that to say, if two power heads, powerful countries come together, I'm sure they will agree on many things, disagree on a lot too, but I'm sure they're going to find a way to um, foster that relationship, make it more mutually beneficial.
You seem to have you have a very optimistic take on this.
I,
Would you be surprised if Trump comes back empty-handed?
I will be surprised. I'll be really surprised because, I mean, you need to think of what happens before the president of the United States or even the president of China goes to visit another country. They they have had weeks of people going there and making negotiations and talking to each other on the background. So this is not a conversation starting ceremony. This is more conclusive and signing deals and making lasting commitments and stuff like that. So um, I think there have been high stake talks on the background. Um, Hammering details out, um, discussing things that are in the way. Because presidents come to sign deals, okay? That's one of the reasons I think the trip was delayed because there are still things that the administration had to hammer on. The president is not going there to start the conversation going. He's going there to conclude, okay, this is what my team has discussed with you. Now we make it official by signing agreements. It's only there for what, 2, 3 days? That's it. How much conversation can you have in that short time? So I think a lot of things have been happening in the background and should they should be concluded in his visit. I don't think he's going to come empty-handed. I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I agree. There might be a few business deals, but with the key issues that um, the key issues like the Iran situation, I don't think anything would be resolved. Donald Trump is not going to get China support on Iran. China is not will not be willing to intervene.
China will not
Um,
even
sorry.
China will not even come out and say anything.
Oh, good.
That's
But I'm saying that that's what Donald Trump is asking for, and what I'm saying is he is going to come back with the same request, and I don't believe that any resolution would happen. There's also the Taiwan issue. I also think that these countries are at loggerheads when it comes to this Taiwan situation. Um, America acknowledges there's one China, acknowledges that Taiwan is part of this China, but again, Taiwan is like the Taiwan is like the Ukraine of Russia.
yeah.
America is going to hold on, latch on to Taiwan as how you call it, as the spear against China. So there would obviously be no resolution when it comes to that. Again, the Ukraine Russia situation, I think China is going to there will be no new outcome. China is going to continue to do business with Russia. China is going to continue to support Russia in as many ways as they can. So Donald Trump is going to come back with nothing on that regard. So I think what I'm trying to say is that yes, there is going to be business deals signed and memorandums signed on business. But when it comes to some of the key issues, in my opinion, I think these countries are so way apart in their views of the world and so different in how they approach world situations that it would be hard for them to arrive at any concrete resolutions on these key issues.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're wrong, but we'll see. We don't know what's going to happen.
Okay. So they get to meet tomorrow. I think China, Trump and Xi
Yeah.
have a meeting tomorrow. So we would see how that meeting turns out. We would see what resolutions they might arrive at because if there's any signing or any big deals, it would have to happen at that meeting, right? So yeah, we would see any developments, we would come back and talk about it. Can you make closing remarks and kind of round up?
Um, of course, we disagree on many things. We agree on some. That's part of life. So, we will, like you said, we're gonna keep in touch on what's happening in that part of the world. See what comes up. And we'll be here to share ideas. Hopefully, we can keep this conversation going, and especially about the effects on Iran, on the Ukraine-Russia war, on Taiwan, on trade deals around the world, on the price of gas, which is what is affecting us directly. So we will follow up on these things, and hopefully we can see some movement there.